Hello and welcome back to Mosquito Bites Live for National Mosquito Control Awareness Week. This is now our second episode for National Mosquito Control Awareness Week that we've been celebrating all week long. We're very excited to bring to you our second episode. Before we get started, I wanted to give a great shout out to West Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District here in Ontario, California, who have been busting out some fire memes, some fire mosquito memes all week. That's been really cool to see. And a special shout out to our cities here in our district, specifically to the city of Monrovia, El Monte, and the city of Azusa, who have officially declared this week National Mosquito Control Awareness Week in their cities. So once again, this is Mosquito Bites Live. My name is Pablo Cabrera, and I'm going to bring on our guests today. I see that you've already put in the request. I'm going to go ahead and accept you guys here. We're jumping on with Collier Mosquito, a very exciting talk today about mosquito control coast to coast. Hi, Robin.
Hey, Pablo. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you. Glad to have you guys here on live with us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Definitely. So I just want to give you a brief introduction, introduce yourself, where you're coming from, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Robin King. I'm the Director of Communication here at Collier Mosquito Control District in Southwest Florida. So we are at the very southernmost tip of Florida on the Gulf side. So basically that means we have the Gulf of Mexico immediately to our west, and we have immediately to our east. Basically, we live in a swamp. So we host, basically 12 months out of the year.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think this is a really cool conversation that we're able to have. Me here at the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District, coming to you from Southern California, and then you joining us from Florida. So coming to you coast to coast, and really emphasizing that mosquito control is nationwide and we're all over the place. So that's leading to my first question. California and Florida have very different weather, and we experience different things. So Florida is very hot and humid, and just like you mentioned, a swamp area, and that's exactly what mosquitoes love. So what are some of the most common mosquito species that you guys deal with out in Florida?
Well, in Southwest Florida, in our county, we have a little over 40 different species of mosquitoes that we've identified here. And the ones that we watch most closely are the ones that can transmit or vector human diseases. And so that includes the Aedes aegypti, the Aedes albopictus, the Culex nigripalpus and Culex pinkifasciitis, and the Anopheles mosquito that can spread malaria. But thanks to Mosquito Control in Florida, we no longer have malaria here. But we still have the mosquito that can carry it.
Great. And that's really interesting to hear, again, just the diversity of mosquito. And I think that's something important for the public to know, that there's tons of different mosquito species out there, and not all of them transmit diseases which make them dangerous to us as humans. But those that do transmit transmit diseases to us are very dangerous to us. For example, here in Southern California, we also deal with majority Aedes mosquitoes as well. Unfortunately now, Aedes albopictus, Aedes aegypti, and Aedes nodoscriptus here in Southern California. And those are far more aggressive biters. Thankfully, they are not transmitting any of those viruses, but they are capable of transmitting those viruses. So we have to be very careful with that. And the most common one that we deal with here in California is Culex mosquitoes. And the Culex mosquitoes are the vector that are able to transmit West Nile virus. And that's something that we always emphasize with our residents, especially as we enter into the summer months, is that West Nile virus is endemic to the state of California, meaning it never goes away. It's always present in our area because we always have Culex mosquitoes flying around all summer long. It's the price we pay for the beautiful, sunny Southern California weather here.
That's a great point, Pablo. Yeah, we've got the Culex here. In fact, we had a West Nile outbreak in our county last year. We ended up with 7 human cases of West Nile virus. The other Aedes that we deal with here this time of year is the Aedes taeniorhynchus. And it doesn't spread any human disease. It's capable of spreading dog heartworm, but these are the mosquitoes that we get coming out of the mangroves in the coastal areas. And they are very aggressive biters 24 hours out of the day, and they can make life miserable here.
Definitely, and that's another great point that you just mentioned. I actually just posted for our National Mosquito Week about dog heartworm, and that's another thing that is so important for residents to know, that mosquitoes don't only affect us, but they also affect our four-legged friends that we have in our home. So not only is it beneficial to protect ourselves from mosquitoes and removing mosquito sources, but also our pets that we have with us. Once again, I'm joined today by Robin, joined us from Collier Mosquito in Florida, and we're going over mosquito control coast to coast. So we just went over the species that we deal with in our respective areas. And my second question is, you have a very diverse landscape in the area that you're in. How do you control mosquitoes in these hard to reach areas?
That's really a great question. I think our biggest challenge is that our county is the largest landmass county in Florida. We cover 2,400, give or take, square miles. The district for mosquito control is only 401 square miles.
Wow.
So only about a third of the county's land when you think about it. So what do we do to control the mosquitoes? Well, again, we've got mosquitoes 12 months out of the year. We basically use every tool available to us. I'm standing out in our hangar. We have have an air fleet. So we have helicopters, we have airplanes, we have trucks, we have hand foggers, and in the past year, we've added drones to our arsenal. So it's areas where we don't really want to put people out on foot. You know, there's snakes, there's alligators. Our drones can go out there and do very small treatments in areas that we've identified as being producers of high populations of mosquitoes.
That's really cool, and that's amazing to see that you guys have your fleet of planes out there, especially to get those areas that are more rural, and especially those swamplands, because just from what I can see from photos and videos, those aren't easy areas to move around with. And like you mentioned, you're dealing with other predators out there like snakes and alligators that are dangerous to us as humans as well. That's something that we don't deal with here in our district in Southern California, but we do deal with other predators or other obstacles that we face. For example, one of the biggest issues that we face here is in our district specifically, we're in the San Gabriel Valley, meaning we have the San Gabriel Mountains right behind us, and that also means we have the foothill cities that are right there. So we're dealing with a lot of rural, large landscape areas where mosquitoes tend to flourish. And then just passing the 210 freeway and then going to the 10 and the 60 freeway here, you have big urban areas that Aedes mosquitoes love to flourish in, and us as humans are providing those perfect environments to live in. So for example, one of the biggest issues that our operations department deals with are large apartment complexes. Apartment complexes are hard to reach areas because you have a high number of people living in one small area, and people are essentially creating micro climates, which is perfect for these mosquitoes. And you might have one side of the street has a huge Aedes population versus the other side of the street isn't experiencing anything. It's because of these microclimates that people are creating for mosquitoes. So those are the biggest issues. And one biggest misconception that we always like to emphasize is that people think, oh, because you live next to the wash basin, you're getting lots of mosquitoes, or because you're next to a park. That's not exactly true. We monitor those areas readily, easily, because they are public areas that we can easily get into. It's private properties like homes and apartment complexes that we have a much harder time to get into, because we can't just walk onto somebody's property. We need to get access, notify the resident. So those are some of the obstacles that we face in our more hard to reach areas.
That's a good point, Pablo. I think that nationwide, every mosquito control agency or entity is going to be facing exactly the same issue where those Aedes aegypti are, because what we tell everyone is the Aedes aegypti feeds on humans. So wherever humans find humans, you're going to find the Aedes aegypti if it's in your area. And we have not necessarily the degree of apartments and congested neighborhoods that you're describing, but we do have towns, and we've got little strip plazas that may have restaurants and such, and that's where our trucks come in. Our trucks will putting out a mist of material that is going to settle in any of those containers, and basically target the mosquito larvae that are living in those containers around people.
Definitely. And again, I'm joined here today for Mosquito Bites Live for National Mosquito Week with Robin from Collier Mosquito. And once again, we're going over mosquito control coast to coast, the different things that we deal with, and some of the similarities that we also experience. We talked about the mosquito species that we deal with, and then also how we control mosquitoes in these very hard to reach areas and the different environments that we find ourselves in. And that leads me to my third question. Vector control, which we were already talking about, is a shared responsibility working with the public. How do we get the public involved to do their part when it comes to mosquito control?
Well, here in Collier County, we do everything from social media to outreach events, and we have one of our staff that goes into the schools to tie our message into the curricula of different grade levels. So for example, in second grade, she'll go in and present a lesson plan about insects. In other grade, they talk about water cycle. So all of this carries a message that can tie back to mosquitoes and what people can do to protect themselves and to make sure mosquitoes aren't breeding in your own backyard. So we talk a lot about that, both publicly, in the schools, and recently we've started a mosquito fish program. And that's a fantastic opportunity to talk to residents, and we give out the mosquito fish, which we harvest from local canals, and we grow out in 2 800-gallon tanks that we have here on site, and we give those out to our residents when they have situations that have standing water that maybe they can't just dump it out. So say there's a fountain that's broken or a pool that's no longer working, they can put those mosquito fish in there and help reduce the amount of mosquitoes coming off, because each one of those little fish can eat about 100 larvae a day.
Yes, they're our perfect environmental solution to some of the natural resources where mosquitoes tend to lay their eggs and the larvae and pupa to grow in. One thing that we do here specifically, which I really loved hearing, is we also have our education program here at the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. EcoHealth Vector Education, just like you mentioned, goes to schools, and we do summer programs. They're actually at a site today, one of our first in-person events of the year, which we're very excited to get back into, and educating students of all ages, whether they be college students, high school students, middle school students, and elementary school students. All these kids have a great sense of knowledge and interest in learning what it is about mosquitoes and anything that you can do to help educate kids of all across grade levels. And again, we do a lot of the outreach within social media, within our traditional advertising, and collaborations as well. That's one big thing that we are really emphasizing a lot, is collaborating with our Southern California districts, because shocking, mosquitoes don't know about borders. They're not going to see Orange County or the Inland Empire and be like, oh, I'm not going to fly over there. So it's important for us to be working with our sister districts around us, sharing information and creating cohesive messaging so that the public really knows what to do or how to best protect themselves when it comes to mosquitoes.
That's a great point. Yeah, we also work with Lee County, for example. Lee County Mosquito Control is directly to our north, and the Keys Mosquito District is to our south. So, and then we've got the Miami folks right across what we call Alligator Alley. So Southern Florida, we're really, we collaborate quite a bit. We stay in touch. We other to see what's going on. And another thing we do is we work very closely with our Department of Health. Is that something that you do too?
Yes, that's a great point. We work very closely with the LA County Department of Public Health as well as the California Department of Public Health, because they are the ones tracking the numbers of West Nile virus in the different counties and different areas. So again, working with them is another huge part of what we do as well.
Great. Sounds great.
And I saw we got a really great question about setting triple E traps here in our comments. Do you have any experience with that, Robin?
Triple E, Eastern equine encephalitis, is an virus here in Florida. So it's something that we monitor closely. Our, just as a side note, our laboratory, our research team tests mosquitoes brought in from traps from throughout the district every week. And that's one of the diseases that we're testing for on a weekly basis. I have a jet going by. Apologies.
No worries. I think it definitely adds to the cool effect for sure. But Emily, if you have more questions about the triple E traps, feel free to send us a direct message, and we'd love to chat more about what your district is doing, or what your county, I should say, is doing in Michigan. So once again, my name is Pablo, and I'm joined by Robin and Collier Mosquito, who has a jet flying by her just now. And we're talking about mosquito control coast to coast. So we went over mosquito species that we deal with, how we deal with the different environments in our districts, and then how we're working with the public to get our messaging out there. And my last question, which is my fun question that I always like to give to everybody that I've done these lives with, is, so if you were a mosquito, what would your name be?
Okay, so I used my name to come up with something, and I came up with Robinia pink fasciitis.
Nice. I like that.
How about you?
I think mine would be Pablo Picasso would be a good one.
That's good. I like that.
I'll gladly take the artistic emphasis from Pablo Picasso with my name any day.
Quite fitting.
Definitely. So once again, I'm joined by Robin from Collier Mosquito here today as part of Mosquito Bites Live. And we went over some really great questions on how vector control works from coast to coast, from California all the way to Florida. And one thing that we want to emphasize is that mosquito control is nationwide, and it's important to know what mosquito control is doing in your area and how you can best protect yourself from the mosquitoes that are in your specific area. Robin, before we leave, do you have any final comments that you want to leave us with?
I think just one thing I wanted to add, going back to how we communicate with our public, is our website has a couple of forms on it that we encourage our residents to use. One of them is they can report mosquitoes if they're being a real nuisance in their area. That information goes directly to our operations department. Another thing that we do is people can sign up to receive advance notices of when we're going to be executing a treatment that includes their address. So we do have an advance notification system for our residents. And that's very, very popular. It gives us the opportunity to have a direct line of communication with our residents.
Definitely, that's really great to hear. And again, knowledge is power when it comes to that. Just knowing what's going on so that you understand that this is public health at work, essentially, and preventing any vector-borne disease outbreaks in any of our areas. Robin, thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Mosquito Bites Live as part of National Mosquito Week, the conversation we've been having all week long. We talked about mosquito species we deal with in Florida and in California, how we control for the mosquitoes in our very diverse environments that we find ourselves in, and how do we get the public involved in getting the word out there and understanding, all the way from educating our students to educating our residents and staying informed within our residents. So Robin, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation with you today. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you on another episode or see you guys online.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Pablo.
Thank you so much, Robin. Take care, and hopefully those planes will quiet down there.